Back again. It's been a while. I'm Jacob, and this is A Better Impact, where we talk about easy, eco-friendly living tips and ideas. Upcycling, you know about that, right? Everyone knows about upcycling. Upcycling is one of the best tools in the sustainability toolbox or tool belt that you have to have a better impact, right? Is it always the green solution that we think it will be? Today we're going to be delving into the idea of the dark side of upcycling. What we mean by the dark side of upcycling is the fact that there's a lot of greenwashing within it. People can get complacent when upcycling, and there's also just like dangerous practices that can come out of upcycling when you don't know enough information about it. What is upcycling? What's the definition? Just to get that out there, upcycling is the transformation of discarded products into something that has increased functionality and value. It's a great practice because of the potential for creativity that comes out of it. But not every upcycled creation has increased functionality. That's the kind of goal with upcycling. That's the idea there. So before you upcycle something, ask yourself, will this project increase the functionality and value of this item? And how long will it be in my life? So let's get into the downsides of upcycling. Sometimes items that could have been composted or recycled end up as just trash. When they're kind of like decorated with paint or little trinkets, they turn into something that has to be thrown away eventually. It's important to understand that materials like acrylic paint or glue or the crafting special hot glue contribute more to the plastic problem. Moreover, upcycled items are like occasionally repurposed for short-term projects, right? So things like quick kids crafts or holiday decorations, or just upcycling for the sake of upcycling so you can say you did it. Upcycling has consequences. When you're not aware of them, it kind of takes away from having a better impact when thinking about upcycling. Upcycling can do more harm than good. There's also a lot of greenwashing tactics that come from companies when upcycling things. So companies will advertise the fact that their products can be upcycled into something else to give you this idea of sustainability. And what that really does is just shifts the responsibility onto you, the consumer, instead of taking responsibility for their own waste. For example, we get this like nori snack, this like seaweed snack, and on the bag it says, upcycle this bag into a planter. And that's not really helpful. It's still waste. So it's not something you can recycle. It's not something you can compost. It's just the company saying that we're sustainable because you have to upcycle. So it's really not a great and effective way to have a better impact. Let's go deeper into the dark side. The allure of upcycling can sometimes divert attention away from true sustainable practices. Things like reducing consumption and embracing closed-loop business practices are a much better way of having a better impact instead of upcycling. So closed loop, think refill and buying in bulk. So those things are closed loop business practices that have a much better impact instead of just upcycling everything. So pay attention, use that third eye. Complacency is part of that dark side. So consumers can become complacent when buying products. You might say, oh, I can buy this thing in plastic, I can just upcycle it afterwards. Which is okay the first couple of times. You know, we like to upcycle things. We like to upcycle stuff. But after the first 10, 15, maybe 20 times, what do you do? What's after that? Upcycling can take away from something that could have been just recycled. It takes away from the idea of reducing when consuming. If you made it this far, we're going even darker. Our journey into the dark side of upcycling goes deeper, right? It goes into potentially life-threatening consequences. So there are people on the internet, maybe we can call them amateurs, are diving into upcycled projects and selling them to you without the proper knowledge of the consequences that can come with that, right? Here are a few examples. For instance, one example, the salvaging of tables using resin. Uncured epoxies in resin projects can be super harmful for your lungs. It can be a skin irritant. So these projects are harmful. Another example is the idea of making anything into a candle. Not everything can be made into a candle. Some are made out of cans. Cans are sometimes lined with plastic, and which make them ill-suited for something like candles. Or sometimes people make candles out of wood, which can lead to things like explosions, house fires, and even just harmful fumes that can come from an upcycled project. These are very dangerous. There's huge liabilities that comes with upcycling things like that. So just be careful. There is this dark side to upcycling that not everyone sees. So again, keep that third eye open. Let's talk about solutions, right? Let's talk about ways that you can still upcycle, or maybe a lighter side to it. And what you want to do is focus on, if you're going to upcycle, focus on items that are kind of destined for maybe the landfill. It's things that aren't recyclable. I know these projects are great for kids. It's a great activity to do, but it's best to focus on materials that aren't compostable or aren't recyclable. So don't use cardboard, don't use like vegetables, don't paint the vegetables. Focus on things that were already destined for the landfill and just give them a second life in that way. Another solution to upcycling's dark side is to focus on reduction before upcycling. Upcycling should be a last resort when it comes to your list of sustainable practices. So we need to focus on reducing our consumption as consumers because we buy things, that's when we upcycle things. So if we just kind of reeled it back a little bit, maybe asked ourselves, if we really need this, then we wouldn't have to upcycle so much. Remember, upcycling is a temporary solution that really just prolongs the inevitable. So think twice before you just upcycle everything. We're all on this sustainability journey in together, and we all need to take a more responsible approach to it so that we have an effective way of being more sustainable. I guess thanks for joining me on this one. I know this was a kind of a darker topic. We try to keep things kind of positive and light, but this has to be addressed, and we wanted to really talk about the trend of upcycling in the sustainability community. I'm Jacob. This has been A Better Impact, and I hope to see you next time. Deuces.